Last Minute Blues Podcast with Donnie, Alex, Jeremy, and Jeff Burton.
It is the Last Minute Blues Podcast. Donnie Fandango, joined by Alex Ferrario from 101 ESPN, Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic. Oh, gentlemen, the Blues are buzzing, boys. They are buzzing.
What do they do? Red hot.
Dude, this is so much freaking fun to watch. And you know, talk about it in whatever order in which we want to talk about. But, like, just the overall feeling of this team right now, it's really exciting, man. It is almost like, I don't care who the opponent is. This team seems locked down, locked in, and freaking ready for the last 14, 15 games, whatever they have left.
What would be the emoji with the kids right now? Fire is too easy.
Yeah, fire's too easy.
I wouldn't even know. Honestly, it would probably be something I wouldn't understand.
The eggplant emoji, probably.
Yeah, well, that could.
That's how you feel watching them, so I would imagine it's the eggplant emoji.
I think mine would be, if you're watching on YouTube, it'd be like this, just hands up, like. What?
No,
like,
JR's is more of the guy with the hand on his face, like, where am I right now? L.A. to Nashville. Did you drive home from Nashville at 1 a.m. last night?
Yeah, it was down to the minute. It was a 24-hour day. Like, I left to go meet my good buddy Luke Korak.
You got that 10 o'clock shadow.
You got to, yeah. And we left at 5 a.m. St. Louis time yesterday and pulled back in the driveway at 5 a.m. this morning. So
how does Chingy say it? Baller, baby!
Dude, that's, so, like, did you do that so you guys would get there for morning skate?
Yeah.
So that you would do that as well.
Time it out. You know, the morning skate was 11:30 yesterday. Try to get there an hour ahead of time. So you leave about 5:30 in the morning and get there about 10:30.
At what point do you crash?
That's what I'm saying, man.
Well, actually, you do the morning skate at 11:30, and when it's over, we parked in a library parking lot in downtown Nashville. That's a pro tip, by the way. If you ever go to Nashville, the parking is through the roof. Like, I've paid $60, $70, $80 to leave your car downtown all day. The library, it used to be $12. I think it's up to $20. Still a deal, right? So the car's parked in the library garage, and I just went in there and passed out for a couple hours. Yeah, just in between the
I made
the
a life
game.
of that from college all the way up until today. I still will sleep in my car every once in a while.
You have to.
But before Blues games, get a little charge.
Yeah, home games, I will go to the garage at Enterprise Center because typically I get my pregame prep done the night before. Still a little bit of stuff that I go in early, but I go to the garage, I eat my lunch in my car, and then I'll put the seat back, and I will sleep for about like 45 minutes to an hour.
Is part of that too, dude, just because you want to have a little time to yourself and, like, quiet time before you go in and it gets kind of nuts?
Just to, like, shut my brain off for at least an hour, because the one I get all the time is, well, why don't you go home? And really, it's out of respect for my wife, because if I go home with a 6 o'clock pregame, I'm turning around and leaving an hour later.
Yeah.
So essentially, my girls don't wake up from nap time until 3. I've got to probably be gone by 3:30, which means they're going to see Daddy for 30 minutes, and then it's just supercharged Energizer Bunny, and then see ya, enjoy the kids.
But these are the things, you guys, these are the things that you have to do in this job when the team's playing as well as it is, and we'll get into this for sure, is because you can book out trips. You can say at the beginning of the season, okay, I'm going to go to Rangers, Islanders, Devils this month. But I had no intentions of going to L.A. and Anaheim until, hey, it's the trade deadline, and they're just a point out of a playoff spot. Let's go. So we did that trip. Same thing a couple days ago. The team's playing so well. People are excited. They have reason to be excited. Mm-hmm. And listen, I want to own this. Like, for months, you know, myself especially, you know, I'm sure I wasn't alone, but myself especially, hey, do the Blues have a chance to make the playoffs? Are you kidding me? Have you looked at the standings? Like how many times did we say that? I say that. And here they are. And there is going to be what Dylan Holloway said in the locker room last night at Bridgestone Arena, a massive, massive hockey game tomorrow night. So you got to drop whatever you're doing, get down to Nashville, bring the coverage to the readers, which we're going to do here for the next bit.
I want to ask sort of like a boring question, but, you know.
There's no boring questions, like no stupid questions.
Well, it's, and I can do both. But, like, so just with every major corporation, with every major company, with every major anything, you know, they're always looking to cut costs and to keep costs in line. So, like, how do you guys figure out when you travel now, you know, when it's kind of a quick turnaround without it costing the Athletic $1 zillion, which I'm sure they would be like, we're not spending that much money.
Yeah,
you know
travels, yeah. It's super expensive. And you're right. You know, you guys book personal travel if you book it 2 days before it's going to be more expensive
Yeah.
than a month out.
Yeah.
So you try to be aware of that and not go crazy. Like I've gotten on there before and it says it's $3,000 for a flight, and you say, okay, well, we're not doing this one. But with Nashville, that's the thing, is we didn't do a hotel. You know, other than the Athletic
library
picking up my $30 Jack's barbecue lunch bill.
Hey, that's okay though.
They didn't have to pay for a lot. So
gotta
yeah,
fuel
that's
the
just
tank.
down to Nashville and back. And if you can up and back it,
Yeah.
then you don't have that crazy hotel cost. Speaking of which, Nashville might be the most expensive hotel in the league. It's about $400.
And I feel like that's the benefit of the Central Division, though. Like kind of like the Eastern Conference, to where those teams, the Metro Division, everybody plays within a couple of hours with each other. And at least the Central Division, if it's Chicago, if it's Minnesota's a little bit of a further drive, but Nashville, Dallas, like at least it's, hey, I can justify driving if I have to go to the game if it's meaningful.
Yeah, and speaking of which, last detail on this trip is I told you guys before we started recording here that I drove most of the way, but then I gave my car to my friend Lou Korak, who drove the rest of the way. And if we didn't get pulled over, there was a, they're orange cones everywhere, right? Barrels everywhere. I mean, go anywhere in the United States, you're going to run
Lou
into.
said, I'm driving right through these.
He's driving right through the barrels.
Exactly.
It was usually 70 miles an hour, but because of the construction zone, it was 55. We were probably doing closer to 70. But I'm bringing this story up because when we got pulled over, it was a state trooper, and we told him that we drove to Nashville for the game and then came back same day. And he said, wow. And then he goes, well, we got to get these guys in the playoffs. And I looked at Lou. I said, what city are we in?
There we go. Jared's sleeping the whole trip. Where are we?
Did a state trooper in Paducah just say that we got to get the Blues in the playoffs?
Look at us. See, we're taking, Donnie, the Blues are taking over the entire Midwest.
I love every bit of it. A couple things here randomly. One, and I told my oldest son this the other day, going back to Saturday night, I do not hate the Minnesota Wild enough, and I really am going to work on changing that over the course of the next year. I think it has to do with the fact that they're in Minnesota. I love that state. I love that city, but I friggin' hate that goddamn hockey team. I hate him. That Foligno fella, out, go. Like, I forgot. Also, too, I don't know I don't know if he's a little bit of a beneficiary of puck luck, if he's just playing his ass off. I don't know. But since the last time that we podcasted and talked about how great Jordan Kryou has been, I believe he has 3 goals and 5 assists, if I'm not mistaken, in 3 games.
Yep.
What the hell is going on? Guys, this is amazing.
We call that, JR, the Donnie touch of Matt.
Yeah.
Donnie talks about him, and then boom.
Yeah, because normally it's not like that. But it's just so amazing, though. This team, there are so many times I had this completely figured out in my head. Hey, they're not going to make the playoffs. It's all right. I hope to see X, Y, and Z before the end of the year. And then 4 Nations happens. They come back. This looks like a different friggin' team almost, man.
Yep.
They are kicking people's asses. And Anaheim is one thing. Nashville, I get it. But still, they're playing the right way to get these wins, man.
Well, and I mean, you can look at them on paper and say, well, Nashville's a bad team, Anaheim's a bad team, so of course they're supposed to win. When the Blues played Anaheim was 6 or 8 points out of a playoff spot, so technically still in the hunt. And Anaheim, by the way, was sitting in St. Louis on Friday night waiting for that game on Sunday. This wasn't they played Saturday. They were in Anaheim on Friday waiting for the Blues as the Blues got pushed back, delayed, had to fly out Sunday morning. That was a pretty massive win for the Blues, despite people looking at Anaheim and saying bad team. And then Nashville, bottom of the standings, understandable. Nashville had won 3 straight games on home ice prior to that game last night, and the Blues hadn't won a game in Bridgestone Arena since April of 2022. Like, these are not, yes, they're bad teams. I tried to say this earlier in the year when the Blues lost to Columbus. Yes, they're bad teams on paper. You hear them, you're like, yeah, bottom of the standings. Man, some of these teams are not an easy opponent at this time of the year because they got nothing to play for. Nashville's just in the let's just ruin people's seasons mode. So those are actually more difficult than taking on teams like Winnipeg and Colorado at this time of the year, at least in my opinion. So that's why this stretch, despite it being Anaheim and Nashville and looking at it and being like, yeah, those are pushover games. No, those were trap games, and the Blues passed with flying colors.
And as I was sleep talking to Lou last night in the car and trying to tell the cop that, this team not only has all of this caught a lot of us by surprise, like I was fairly confident a month and a half ago saying this is not a playoff team.
Yeah.
There's not enough time left in the schedule to turn this around. The things that they're doing, they're just not going to be able to pull it together. So they've completely blown that out of the water, right? They've done exactly what you need to do. They're playing exactly how you need to play to put yourself in a position to be in the playoffs. Here's the part that blows me away. Not only are they winning games 7-2 and 4-1, and the power plays 3 for 5 the other night, and then last night, started off with a power play goal. This team is hitting 2 posts.
Yep.
There are guys who could have hat tricks.
Yeah.
That maybe you fall a goal short. Can you hit the post? Dylan Holloway and Jordan Kryou just looked like. that was.
They look like a cheat mode on NHL 25.
Yeah, exactly.
They're too fast.
If you wanted a video of like, hey, Blues fans, here's your future. Look at that.
Yep.
15-second clip last night, and you're like, okay, I'll take
Yeah.
it. And then defensively, we're talking about guys that we beat up on for the past couple of years, and they've gone 14 games without allowing 30 shots or more on net. That's unheard of. You can go 6 or 7, and then you allow 36 shots on net. Not 14 games in a row. And, oh, by the way, you're playing without your horse, Colton Parayko. So, oh, by the way, Jordan Bennington's getting the night off. Joel Hofer's going to go out and do it.
Against Nashville.
It's incredible.
It's the it's the who's the next man that needs to step up sort of thing.
Yeah.
All right, so guys, I've been thinking about this since the last time that we podcasted. All right, and I love everything about what I'm seeing right now in this team. Okay,
What?
how do you properly analyze, even if they keep playing well the remainder of the year? How do you properly analyze the 2 sides to this team this year when you're trying to make the roster for next year?
Donnie,
And obviously,
unbelievable question. That is awesome.
Hey, thank you very much.
I was a little
awesome.
bored by it, though.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. But man, how do you not get too drunk with this right now? But also at the same time, maybe things are just different now. Maybe I don't know. How do you guys see it?
At least for me, I start with the.
The guy who thinks it's a bad
Yeah,
person.
you're right.
He
Hold on.
jumped right in there.
Hold on. Let me press the elevator and go down. You take this.
No, go ahead.
For me, I start with the coaching. Like, I look at Jim Montgomery and I look at his past history, and I made this reference a couple of weeks ago on this podcast, talking about how this feels a lot like what Jim Montgomery did with Dallas in 2018-2019. No coincidence yesterday, he confirmed that. He was like, yeah, this feels a lot like what they did, and that was because of structure. They weren't allowing odd man rushes. They were playing stingy defensively, and Jim even said, or not Jim, we have Mark Parrish on, NHL Network analyst, who said this Blues team is better talented than what the Dallas Stars had in 2018-19. I look at structure and say, last year at this time, you still entered games when they were playing well under Drew Bannister, saying, what team are you going to get tonight? Because they still would have those win 3 in a row, lose 3 in a row, and you'd be like, which one's going to show up? When was the last time you walked into a Blues game post-Four Nations and said, what team is showing up tonight?
I haven't said it.
Even the losses, outplayed Dallas, your penalty kill stunk. Pittsburgh, Tristan Jarry robbed you. You should have won that game. They have outplayed their opponent in every single matchup. Even strength, which to me is always that's the trendsetter of like, okay, has this team figured it out? If you're good at even strength. They've been the best even strength goal differential team in the National Hockey League since Jim Montgomery took over. So why I look at this, and Doug Armstrong obviously is a lot more smart than I am, but I look at this and say, they've got the coach in place that you trust the system and the structure. The players are playing it to a T. So I don't look at this and say, well, there still have to be some changes to this core. I'm actually curious what October looks like next year for a team that realizes you can't do what you've done the last 3 years.
Well, I just think it's a phenomenal question, first of all.
Thank you very much, JR.
I do. I think, but here's the thing. I'll say this. I think it's a question that we shouldn't worry about for a couple months. And it's going to get to the point where you have to make those types of decisions. But right now, enjoy it, ride it. And I know you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's other people who have asked this question too, and I've really thought about it because you can get fooled by this. You can decide to keep a guy in the offseason because of how well he or the team played with him down the stretch, and that might put you in a bad spot in a year or two because you kept that guy. So I think, enjoy that they've been able to find the chemistry to put this type of run together, and you'll see how far it goes. But I think when it gets to the offseason, and Doug Armstrong obviously has shown a million times that he has the
he's ruthless.
He's ruthless / he's got the evaluation process down to a science where he can say, okay, listen, that guy played really, really, really well, and it totally makes sense to keep this guy. But we've got an offer here while his stock is high, and we're going to make this move, and it could help benefit the future.
Don't you don't you want that and prefer that for your general manager
Have to.
than the opposite side? Because Kent Hughes said this yesterday, Montreal Canadiens GM, which to me, that's the part that I'm actually saying, like, I hope people don't get over their skis on this front and be too aggressive. Because you remember Nashville. Nashville was supposed to be in a competitive rebuild last year, right? They go on that run, they make the playoffs, and then Barry Trotz is like, okay, we got a team, we're ready to win. Let's go get Stamkos, Marchessault, Brady Shea. Kent Hughes yesterday, Montreal Canadiens GM, was asked, hey, because your team's winning and you've got a lot of cap space, do you envision yourself being aggressive this offseason to upgrade your team? And Kent Hughes, kind of taking a shot at Barry Trotz, says, look, I'm not going to go into the offseason like a drunken sailor and start handing out 8-year deals to guys that I'm going to want to get out of the contract 2 years from now. That's where I don't want the Blues to be. Do not get too excited and say, hey, we're in the playoffs now. This is the window. Let's go sign 3 guys to major deals. No, I want my GM to be ruthless like that says this was great. I don't trust what we saw from this player. There's an upgrade that's to be had. Let's take advantage of it. So I like the cautious approach of, hey, we played well. Let's see what this looks like the next season.
Guys, it is, and we talked about it already, but it is unfreaking believable that the team is doing this. And it's even more unfreaking believable that they're doing it without Colton Parayko. Mm-hmm. The question, how the hell are they doing it without Colton Parayko? Like, who are the guys here that are stepping up? I mean, you saw a really great goal from Falk last night. Just the way in which that this team is, like, for lack of a better term, I mean, they are just working their asses off. I mean, but what is it around that, amongst that defensive core that is keeping this team in it without one of their best friggin' players?
Yeah, I just think it's the veteran experience. Yep. It's the veteran experience with the guys like the Fowler, with Leddy, with Falk, and they're just killing plays. And I realize not every play. There's some saves that Joel Hofer had to make last night, but they're killing a ton of plays. They're making simple plays. Let's give a lot of credit to Justin Falk. He's got a little point streak going here, playing well offensively. Big power play goal last night. But he looks like a different player. I think Alex,
he's got 10 points since the Four Nations break, and I believe he is a +8 since the Four Nations break.
And listen, we talked about Doug Armstrong a minute ago. The Fowler pickup now, it just looks genius.
With everything.
Brilliant.
That was their trade deadline move. They just made it in December.
Yeah, and he's been terrific with Colton Parayko, but now you have Fowler and Leddy together. And has Leddy been perfect? No, but I think he's been better.
He's been really good. +7 since the Four Nations break.
And so they've been really good defensively. But as I think Chris Kerber was just on 101, he said that on a great show, by the way.
Yeah, phenomenal show. I don't know if you've heard of it, Donnie. It's 11-2. BK Ferrario.
Yeah, it's the one that finishes in the ratings behind me. I'm sorry, that sounded mean.
No, you know what? Hey, props to you, man. No, that was really good. That was really good. He's right, though.
That was the meanest thing I've ever said. I love it so bad.
Donnie's just taking money out of my pockets. My kids got to eat.
I don't even... Alex, I like you too much to throw that kind of burn at you. I'm so sorry.
I can't wait to the text back and forth with me and Alex later on about that one. But
this Donnie guy, are you kidding me?
But and Donnie, the forwards. It's just I think when you have a situation where everybody is invested and doesn't matter who we play, we're going to show up and we're winning this game tonight. The forwards, it doesn't feel like you're back checking. It doesn't feel like you're going through the pain and misery of, now I got to skate my butt off to get. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so when the forwards are doing that and you're getting the simple veteran experienced plays in the back end and you're getting the goaltending, that's why we've seen the shots so far down and the goals against down.
That's for me too. Like, it's not just the defensemen. To me, it's the forwards as well. Like, it is truly a 5-man unit on that ice to where the defensemen don't have to do much because the forwards are back and they're clogging up the zone. They're standing the other team up at the neutral zone so that the only thing the opposition can do is dump the puck in and have to go with it. Go back 2 months ago. Teams were skating through the neutral zone and just entering the zone and setting up. The Blues were just kind of backing off. That is not the case anymore. Teams have to get past their first layer of forwards, then their second layer, then they got to worry about the goaltender playing the puck before they can even get possession.
And while all that's going on, because you've got the forecheck going on and because you're working your tail off in the offensive zone, those top players on the other team, those offensive players who should be down in their offensive zone, putting the shots on net, they're skating over here, and now they're skating into this corner, and now they're going for the puck. And the Blues are relentless in the offensive zone. And now, whether it's Pittsburgh or Minnesota or Nashville, those players, their shift's over because they're 50 seconds in by the time the puck finally does go down to their offensive zone and they change.
The Blues are doing to the opposition what the opposition has done to the Blues for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
They waste the shifts of the best players because those guys are chasing the puck. And then they know that once those guys are chasing the puck, they're on the bench. Now we can get the advantage. Now, because the Blues have 4 lines where it's top to bottom, it doesn't matter who plays who. I mean, last night they had the WTF line going up against the Philip Forsberg-Stamkos line. Think about that for a minute. Faksa, Toropchenko, and Walker were going up against Stamkos and Forsberg, and they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Forsberg couldn't do anything out there. That is the luxury that the Blues have now, to JR's point, where you've got 4 lines doing the exact same thing on the ice.
I don't think Stamkos had an attempt on net last night.
Did not.
What,
Unbelievable.
Forsberg's only one was the breakaway.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like relentless.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me, and that the team doesn't remind me as good as the Stanley Cup team, but the way that team was waves. They're going to friggin' beat you down and wear you out.
I know I'll be in the minority. I'll say it. They're playing like that 2018-2019 team right now. They're maybe not as physical as that team was, but they're playing just as solid of a structure as that team was, where they're blocking shots, they're not allowing you any time in the offensive zone, and they're out forechecking you.
All right, so we got to wrap this up, but I want to get you guys' handle on these teams that are in the running for this second playoff spot with the Blues. Vancouver, Calgary, Utah Hockey Club. How do you guys sort of handicap this race as it goes? It seems as though the Blues and Utah are the ones that are kind of playing better lately. Obviously the Blues, but Vancouver, you can't leave those guys out.
Mm-hmm.
Calgary has really worked their asses off to still be here this year when pretty much nobody thought that they would be, maybe even including themselves.
Yeah.
So who do you think is the Blues' biggest competition as this winds up?
Man, I don't know if there's one team that's their biggest competition, because this is going to be a 4-team dog race down to the end. I put together this chart of every game on every day that each team plays. Calgary is going to have 2 games in hand on the Blues all the way up until April 12th.
Oh,
so they're always going to have 2 games in hand. They play the Thursday after you wrap up the season against Utah. So you basically would need to be 3 points up on Calgary prior to that last game of the season for Calgary to be done. Mm-hmm. So that, to me, Calgary, unless Calgary goes into a down spiral, which they kind of already have been, I think it's 3 wins in their last 10, they're going to always hang around because of those 4 games in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Utah, I don't really know if I trust right now, and Utah has a god-awful schedule to where they're playing Vegas, Winnipeg, and they got their butts kicked last night by Edmonton. I think Utah's going to fall out of it by the beginning of April. So really, I guess it's Calgary and Vancouver, which is why, to me, tomorrow night is such a massive game, because you've got an opportunity to extend that lead to 2 points against Vancouver. You're ahead of them in almost every tiebreaker situation, and I always go to goaltending. Who's got the better goaltender of all of those teams?
We do.
Yeah, and it's not just because of Binnington. It's Binnington and Hofer.
Yeah.
Vancouver has to rely on Kevin Lankinen. Calgary has to rely on Dustin Wolf. Blues got 2 guys, and they can go 1-1 the rest of the way and probably still be in good shape.
First of all, if you want to send me that little handy-dandy sheet you got.
I got it. Here, I'll walk away from camera and I'll show you guys. Hold on.
How great is it, though, man? And I don't mean to interrupt you,
Yeah.
JR, but to have this luxury of Joel Hofer as your backup, man. I mean, because he is not just a backup. He's a guy that can, I feel like there are times that he did it last night. I don't want to say steal the game because the Blues drilled him, but just makes big saves.
There was some big saves, so yeah.
At moments where maybe that Nashville was getting the adrenaline back or whatever. So it's a whole nother freaking world when you got 2 of those guys.
Yeah,
back
so
there.
he gets pulled in that Dallas game, gives up 3 goals on 9 shots, and since then he has stopped 62 of 66.
Wow.
So it's
good.
That's pretty good.
940 save percent.
Yeah.
But he has really answered the belt. So the thing is, they've played 13, 14 games since the 4 nations, and I think the split is 8-6,
Yeah, I
7-6.
think it's basically within 1 or 2 of each
One
other,
or 2
if I'm not mistaken.
starts. So even though people, including us, have thought, oh, maybe they'll ride Binnington down the stretch. Well, there's still a lot of games, even though it's 13, 14. And they had to give Hofer the net a couple times here since that Dallas game, and he's played really well. If you look, there was the big save on Marchessault last night.
Yep.
And then Jake Neighbors goes down and scores and makes it a 2-0 game. If he gives up that goal to Marchessault, it's 1-1 instead of a 2-0 game.
Yeah.
And then after the Buchnevich injury, They played 4-on-4, and he stopped the Forsberg breakaway. Joel Hofer did. So he's been phenomenal. Quick, funny, colorful story from last night in the locker room, the visiting locker room, is afterwards they always have food. Typically it's healthy. Last night I don't know that it was healthy.
Oh, yeah. Last night was the fried chicken. Joey was talking.
It was a burger or chicken or something.
Was it? Joey said they were asking if they could get fried chicken for the post-game meal because Monty was asking for it. I'm like, yes.
But Joel Hofer comes in with this. I thought it was a burger that's the size of my arm, and he's all like a number 2 pencil is what he looks like, right? And he's mowing down this thing. And normally when a player walks in a room, reporters gather around him and they start talking right away. Well, he literally took about 4 minutes to finish off this burger.
Damn right.
And I think Matt DeFranks or somebody said, "How was it?" And he goes, "It was phenomenal." And after this, I'm getting another one.
Hey, man, after you play your balls up like that, you have 6 of them. Whatever, man.
Here you go, boys.
Look at this.
Look at this advent calendar right here.
Look at that.
I am loaded up, Donnie.
Dude, that is
got it the rest of the way.
Well, we got to wrap this thing up. And first of all, I'd like to apologize to Alex Ferrario.
You and I actually, I turned music. You and I aren't speaking for at least 2 weeks.
Here, I got the ratings chart right here.
I will be flooding the group chat later with apologies for
look at him.
For my very good friend Alex Ferrario from 101 ESPN, Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic. Our boy Jeff Burton would be loving the hell out of this playoff race. Let me tell you what. It's the Last Minute Blues podcast. Thanks for listening. As always, let's go Blues.
The Last Minute Blues podcast. Hear more at 1057thepoint.com. The Last Minute Blues podcast.